Welcome everyone to the Millennial Summit Facebook Live with Monique Helstrom, myself, Kyle McLaughlin. I want to welcome Monique back to the Millennial Summit family.
Hi.
Monique was the MC for the 2019 Entrepreneurship Day of the Millennial Summit. Welcome back virtually to the Millennial Summit family. And so Monique, for those of you who don't know, is a speaker, a trainer, a coach, most importantly, a human, especially these days. And a little bit of background on how the Millennial Summit and Monique and myself has kind of brought each other together, and how the Millennial Summit can work in your favor, networking and meeting cool people such as yourself. So Monique was the MC last year, like I said. I was in charge, I think, of making sure you were on stage at the right time in some sort of capacity. And I think it worked. And, we just kind of kept in contact, networked, things like that. And you came and spoke at my class, right, to my students at the University of Delaware.
Yep.
And it kind of went from there, and we started kind of doing little projects, and now you're trying to grow, and it's been fun. So why don't you go back, kind of tell a little bit about yourself, what you're doing now, and everything.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be back here chatting with you guys at the Mill Summit. Loved the event last year. So thank you for having me back. It's been a whirlwind. Who knew last year what the makeup of this year was going to be? But I had just departed working with Simon Sinek after about a decade when I was at the Millennial Summit, and started my own speaking career, my own coaching career. I coach keynote speakers and public figures and entertainers on how they can support a movement, how they can grow their keynotes, how they can develop content, how they can take their content online. I work with a lot of speakers right now, and obviously doing speaking myself. And then recently have built The Whole Human, which I know we're going to talk a lot about on this call.
So go in a little bit to your speaking and coaching kind of transition, and not only your transition from working with Simon, but also in this time of this crisis we're going through. And I know we've kind of worked through a lot of things together, but that pivot and that, not only what you were already doing, but how that's kind of ramped up now that what the times we're in now.
Sure. I definitely started coaching speakers right away. That's something that obviously I know how to do very well, and I've been doing for a very long time, and took a lot of the lessons that I've learned with working with Simon over the years, and have applied that not only to how I work with people and the leadership capabilities, which I do talk about, but just helping them become the best versions of themselves and helping them get their message across. It's very hard for a lot of people to take what they have in their head, that message, that clear motivational message that they have, and get it into words and put it in a form that can be translated into a 30-minute presentation, 60-minute, 90-minute, and so on and so forth. So been doing quite a bit of that, which is really exciting. And then once this pandemic hit, it's been an interesting time in that my business has actually gotten busy, because now's the time to look into stuff like that. I think it's slightly a blessing in disguise. We've all said we wanted time. We need time to go back and relook at our keynotes. We want time to reevaluate our businesses. We want time to go back and fix any parts of our companies that maybe needed a little tweaking, or of ourselves, frankly, for that matter, how we can be better. But life moves very fast, and we now have the time and space to do that. So now I'm really helping a lot of my speakers prepare for the fall season, when, not if, when we go back to being able to be around other social animals, which will be exciting. And so a lot of the speakers that I'm working with are getting prepared for the onslaught for the fall season, as well as learning how to take their content online and how this translates to an online medium, whether that's webinars, whether that's educational courses, whether that's coaching. Now's the time to do it. Pivoting.
Pivoting, yes. It's a nice buzzword to use.
Ah, yes.
So the audience we have at the Millennial Summit and just kind of the audience we're trying to gather around it is very diverse, right? So, and then so is your coach, the people that you coach. So are you, without naming names if you can't, but kind of what's that diversity in that, and like the people in their career, because a lot of the Millennial Summit people are either, starting their professional career and kicking into high gear, or, leaving it and leaving those millennials to kind of pick up the slack. So what's kind of that breadth of people that you coach?
Sure. I work mostly with people that are at the precipice of their next evolution, I call it. Those that are ready to climb that next mountain. What is that next mountain? So I do work in the professional community with speakers, with entrepreneurs, with executives that are either changing the face of their company, adding a new product, launching a book, creating a new keynote, sort of whatever that mountain is that they have to go out there and create. I really work with them in order to help do that. But this is also people that are at the precipice of their own evolution, maybe in a career. They've been doing something and they're ready to change. They want to progress in their current position. They want to go from being an associate to being a director, to being the manager, to being the VP, and so on and so forth. What are the skill sets that one would need in order to get to that next evolution, to get to that next place in life where they can really, it might be uncomfortable, it might be a bit of a struggle, there might be a tug, but nonetheless, it's for growth and it's to make you a better human. So that's who I coach. Humans getting ready to be better humans.
Yeah, and be right back as I look up the word precipice. Put that in my thesaurus book. But so speaking of humans, kind of what we're here to talk about, and besides a lot of your coaching and stuff you got going on, but the whole human, this has kind of been an idea of yours for probably over a year, right? It's been probably over like a lot of years, really. And it's kind of grown into this cool project that has launched during a pandemic, but we do what we can. But go into the start of that, and then we'll kind of dive into that more.
Sure. So about a year ago, again, when I very much changed my life and very much changed not only my career, but what I was doing and who I was being, I call it, I woke up. I had my aha moment. I had whatever you want to call it. I woke up and realized that the only part of me I was really feeding and the only part of me that I was taking care of was my work self. I had been pretty successful in my career, and that was really, as a single person, traveling a lot, working a lot, really was easy to focus myself in my work and bury myself in work life. It took the pressure off me looking at all the other areas of my life, as I'm sure some of us can relate to. And then I woke up, and then I realized that I needed to feed the rest of me in order to become a whole human, because me speeding down the highway at 150 miles an hour with one good tire was not sustainable. So I thought about this, and so I went on a big journey. You've heard other people talk about their journeys before, but I certainly went on a big self-discovery journey of what else did I need? What else was I missing? And I started to feed the rest of me, feed my body, feed my mind, feed my spirit. I tried lots of different mediums of professional and personal and spiritual and meditation and mindfulness and acupuncture and all kinds of things to find out what worked for me. And it was very helpful. The journey itself was very helpful. And when I sort of got to the end of it, I said, if I'm going through this, I feel like others are too. I've run into a number of people in my life that are really concentrated on one aspect of who they are, but tend to forget about the rest of it. And I wanted to help people become a whole human, to have all four tires working at the same time. So I started this idea, at the end of last year. I've been working with you, Kyle, for quite a long time on this. And the goal was to have this be an educational platform where we had videos, very educational and entertaining lifestyle videos where people could learn about all the different aspects of their human, all the different parts of what makes them up. And we got really close to getting some videos done, and then we hit pandemic. So now we're pivoting, again, buzzword, we're pivoting. And so we've just started to launch a number of webinars to still be able to give people the information and the education that they need, but in an easier, more interactive way. So that's what we're doing now. We'll put some educational courses up soon. And then when we can all get on airplanes again safely, we'll get some educational videos recorded for you all and throw those up there too.
Yeah, planes, trains, or automobiles, whatever we have to do it, or it's going to happen. And we're bringing in some people from the Millennial Summit community, which is really cool, and just people around the country that kind of know what we're trying to do, and bringing in a lot of different, people that are bettering themselves. And we'll switch to a question. Jennifer asked about your coaching and a typical session, and depending on what style of person you're coaching, what does a typical session look like?
Sure. The awful answer is it really depends on who I'm coaching. It's very personal and it's very interactive. I want to know what your goals are. I want to know what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, what are you trying to develop, what is that next evolution, what are the goals and why. I talk a lot about what is your purpose, what do you have to do with this. We will spend a lot of time, again, working on your purpose. We spend a lot of time looking into your strength set, your personality, who you are, what are all the juicy bits that make up who you are, and then how can we use those juicy bits to get you where you need to go. One of the things that I think is tough for people is they feel like they have to mold themselves into somebody else in order to get to where they want to go. Well, I'm a strategic thinker, and in order for me to create this product, I have to be detail oriented, and I really need to make sure I have all my details. So I must become that person in order to get my product out into the world. And that's such a heavy lift. I mean, sure, could you do it? Absolutely. But the amount of energy that you will expel, and will it be good, is an entirely different thing. So what I concentrate on is you using your strengths, the things that make up who you are to get you where you need to go. And then we figure out how to fill in the blanks. We figure out either another human that we need to take off some of the load, or one of the million platforms that we have in the matrix and the interwebs these days to help assist you.
Cool. Great. We have actually another question from Jono. Transitioning from an employee, another person's assistant, another person's right-hand woman, how was that challenge transitioning from that to working for yourself?
Sure. I mean, it's a completely different skill set. It's 100% as if I took a new job. I've been lucky in that this is actually my second go round. I did start a business back in 2007 when I lived in LA. And I definitely made a lot of mistakes starting my first business, which for all of the young folks out there, please know you're going to make a lot of mistakes when you start your business. And that's just how it goes. Sometimes you have to fall down to get back up. And so I did run through it the first time, definitely was able to catch some of my errors this time around. But to lead an organization and to be a member of an organization are two completely different skill sets. If I were to only be a solopreneur for the rest of my life, it probably wouldn't be super different because I can work in my own way. And but when I have other people that are working with me, well, then I go into the category of being a leader. And so you have to get out of the bucket of being an authority or being a generalist or an expert in something, and you have to transition into what is a leader, which is, again, a completely different skill set. You're not actually doing the thing that you're good at. You're managing the people who are going to now do the thing that you were good at. So again, completely different skill set. You have to learn. Leadership is a learned skill, just as a number of things are. So you can learn how to grow your leadership capabilities. But, it's the zoom out and zoom in. You have to constantly go meta and go micro and go meta and go micro. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done.
I think that would be a lot of entrepreneurs' answers if you asked them. Well, you spoke kind of how, leadership is a learned skill, transitioning back to the all human, which is kind of makes sense, right? Because leadership being a learned skill, we are trying to, at the whole human, develop things that people can learn, but not necessarily like a traditional course. So how is that going to, portray when the platform is live? Like you don't have to, spend a bunch of money and go to a 4-year college, right? So, but you're still learning a lot of beneficial skills.
Absolutely. Online education these days, there's a lot of it. Especially now with the pandemic, you can't throw a dime without hitting 27 different courses that are online, which is great. And I love that. I'm a big, big proponent of online education. What I want to do that's different is offer information in a condensed and holistic form that is not just centered on your professional life, but your entire life. We have this errored thinking that you are one thing at work and you're another thing at home, this work-life balance thing, when we are actually the same human throughout. And when you can be a whole human and feed your whole human, then it actually helps your entire self. So that's what we want to do. We want to feed your entire self. And the education will be specific and tailored to a specific target, a specific nugget. So it won't be, 4 hours of a class that you have to learn to find that one nugget. We're going to have short, entertaining, digestible, amazing pieces of content delivered by some of the wonderful humans that I've had the pleasure of knowing over the last many decades of my life.
Yeah, people that have done it, right? People that are in it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the amazing opportunity to meet so many people throughout my life, and I want to help bring their information to life. The world needs that.
And, we're currently doing that, right, with these free webinars we're doing. We get a couple this week, a couple next week, and then the weeks to come. So first of all, why do we switch to that webinar aside from, the crisis? And then how is that going to transition to, other mediums of information being given to our audience?
Sure. Well, I wanted to start and just give people information right now. We don't, tis the season to be entertained and educated all at the same time, right? So we're starting now with these webinars with some introduction to some of the folks that I've met over the years, and we'll develop some of that into longer courses or more specific courses. Hoping to build a course about how to write a keynote in the next couple of weeks, which will be a video or an online session that will be available. And then we'll transition eventually into videos. So everything will be completely digestible on your own time from the comfort of your own house.
Yes. All right. So, if anyone feels free to have questions in the chat or on the live, and I want to kind of do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
For you now, just personal type questions. So first one, what do you know now that you wish you had known at the start of your career? And we touched upon this a little bit with your entrepreneurial career, but what else?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the lessons learned, we learn more from falling down than we ever did from when things go right, huh? I would say, this is actually an answer that Simon has given before, and I can't agree with it enough. I wish I knew that I didn't have to know everything. I wish I knew that I didn't have to be everything. I very much, I thought my skill set when I first started out, I'm very detail oriented. I'm type A, I'm a worker bee. I'm the builder, not the architect. And I felt bad about that for a long time. I felt like my skill set was just boring or something like that. So I wanted to be the other. I wanted to be the architect. I wanted to be the CEO. I always felt bad about who I was. And I felt like I needed to fill in the blanks. And I wish I knew that I should just concentrate on what I am, who I am, and just be that and be really good at that. And then find other subject matter experts that can help me.
Yeah, reach out for help, right?
Reach out for help. Yeah. Asking for help. I mean, part 2 of that, the underlying thing there is being comfortable with asking for help. Because it's one thing to be within an organization and not be reticent to ask for help. But if you want to start your own company, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to get real comfortable asking for help real fast. And you should be. That's where the magic comes in.
Yeah. And, being the entrepreneurial space in the Millennial Summit, and we kind of are targeting some of those type of folks, in the entrepreneurial specific career, what's kind of a life lesson or, lesson to starting something that you haven't shared already that could be good for that crowd?
If you're starting your business and starting your company, if you already have people that are working for you, please know that your job is not to do things. Your job is to just take care of those people, those humans, and make sure that they can do their jobs. If you don't have anyone else who you're working with, again, ask for help. Find people who you can riff off of, even just to knock around ideas. I have friends that if I'm unsure of how I word a Facebook post, I can call any number of people and just say, what does this sound like to you? What do you think I'm trying to say through this? And again, it's something that I wasn't very comfortable with in the beginning. I wrongfully associated asking for help with weakness. And I'm slightly embarrassed about saying that now, but hopefully folks out there can relate. I saw it as weak. And now that I know, it actually really is an unbelievable strength. And it's something that we should all learn how to do. Without a doubt, ask for help.
Definitely. So another question, more of a rapid fire type personal question. What motto or saying do you most frequently revert back to, and why that motto?
One of my favorite sayings that is currently on my wall: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. That's a Henry Ford quote. And I have lived my life by that. It's people say it different ways, the definition of insanity, or doing something over and over again and expecting different results, and so on and so forth. But it's true. If you keep ramming your head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over again, whether that's professionally or personally, if you constantly are fighting with a certain person, or a certain trigger happens over and over and over in your life, or you keep getting told of something that happens, you have to be able to take a step back, go macro with your own self, not just your business. Go macro with yourself, identify what you're doing, identify the pattern that you have, and then insert either a pattern interruption or just change your behavior, do something. The pattern interruption came from my amazing business coach, Chris Whitewick. And he taught me that this is something that I've actually learned: a trigger word or even an action. If I find myself going down a rabbit hole that I've gone to before, he says, get up and dance. I don't really do that, but I have my own pattern interruption, and that can be a word, it can be a thing, it can be a picture, just something to snap you out of it and bring you back up. So definitely recommend starting to do things differently if you want a different result.
So you mentioned that you have a business coach yourself and you coach people, and I think that's a really good point of how to kind of that cycle goes on. Like, everyone needs help and everyone can help people. How does that relate to kind of what you're doing in not only your business, but, your personal life as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we can't all be everything. We all need help in some way, shape, or form. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And I'm a huge, huge fan of mentors and business coaches, or just coaches or therapists, or anything in that medium where you can talk a problem out, where you can have an unbiased opinion, someone who's there to support you and tell you what you need to hear and when you need to hear it. Absolutely recommend that. And I think that's part of what this whole thing is, just being there for other people. And I love doing it for the folks that I coach, and I still need it on my side. There's still things that I will be working through until the day that I die. We're all a little flawed, and we all need a little help.
Ain't that the truth? So we got about 5 minutes left.
Man, this goes fast.
Yeah. So
Good grief.
Kind of a recap of where things are going, what we're working on, what people can expect, big things, small things. The Millennial Summit's not until August, but things to work up towards then, things to work through this pandemic. Yeah.
Again, I think this is a very hard time for everyone. I'm not discounting what everyone in all communities are going through by any means. But if you have the time, if you have the ability, this is a great time to look at and think about your evolution. Think about what is your next step. Think about the things in your life, those patterns, those behaviors that don't serve you, and how you can get rid of them, and start looking at some of the patterns and behaviors that you want to add into your life in order to get to your next evolution. I think the worst thing that could happen, in my opinion, during this pandemic is that we all come out exactly the same. I would rather have us all come out a little different, a little better, a little happier, from all of this. And hopefully, you can have some tools from either the websites moniquehelstrom.com or thewholehuman.com, or excuse me, thewholehuman.me. Hopefully you'll get some resources on there to help you along your way. And there will eventually be videos up there.
Yeah. And so Sarah asks, during this whole reinvent yourself, pressure to do things during this pandemic, how do you recommend keeping yourself motivated to do all these things when some people are alone, the world is falling down, and to be honest, that we have Netflix to fall back on?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, you control your behavior and you control your actions. So at the end of the day, if you value your reinvention, and if you're concentrated and committed to your reinvention, you just will make time and space for it. And frankly, that's okay if you're not. I'm not saying that you have to do it now. If you're feeling sad, if you're working through something individually, and what is helping you through that right now is to just binge on Netflix, all for it. I think one of the worst things we could do is force ourselves out of an emotion that we're having. A lot of times people say that, oh, don't be sad, or get up out of your chair and just go be happy. Well, we're not machines, we're humans, and humans are messy. So if you want to be messy for a little bit, go be messy for a little bit. But when you can, and when you're ready, and when you're staring up at that mountain and you're at the bottom and there's nothing else in your way and you're saying, I have to go, you have to choose the behavior. You have to put in place the behavior that you want to see. And it's literally just a choice to do so.
That's kind of our motto at The Whole Human, right? It's a very acceptable place to learn about yourself, and the three pillars that kind of working on here, and you're working on, and The Whole Human's working on, is the educated mind, the well-fed body, the cultivated spirit, right? So, three kind of ways that you can come and bring yourself to become a better person, and one notch at a time.
Yes. And do remember, everything, you are at the center of all of this. You're human, you're person. That's why I say the word human all the time. You are the same person at work than you are at home. So if you're not taking care of your vessel, there is no amount of work, there's no amount of education, there's no amount of college that's going to get you to where you need to go. You have to be taking care of yourself as well. So everybody out there, eat well, sleep well, drink lots of water, do what you need to do during this time to help yourself. It's amazing. If you feed yourself the right stuff, your body will give it back to you, and your brain will give it back to you.
So where can we find you? Where can we get to you? Where can we...
Currently I'm in Denver, Colorado. No.
We can't get there.
Nobody, exactly. For the first time. You can find me at moniquehelstrom.com. You can find us at thewholehuman.me. And yeah, that's where we are. Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, all the things. I don't have a tweeter, as I like to say. He always laughs at me because I'm not a tweeter. But I've got the Instagram and the Facebook and all the other ones.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn. One more question, actually. We have time for one more. So, as someone who's starting a new career path and has made some life changes to stare up at the mountain I'm facing, go for it. So, what, and some information or some some insight for people starting up there.
Starting on their journey.
Yes.
Starting to look up at the mountain.
Yeah.
First, you have to know who you are and why you want to do what you want to do. First, you have to know what your purpose is, what what is your life's work? Once you know that, you have to know that first. Let's look then into our strengths and our weaknesses and know how we can use our strengths to our advantage and where we need to fill in the gaps with some of our weaknesses. Then we're ready to climb a mountain. If we're not healthy and if we don't have the right stuff in our backpack, you're going to climb that mountain and you're going to get halfway up and get hungry or thirsty or die because you don't have a jacket. So we're going to first take care of ourselves and make sure that we're whole humans. Then we can look at the mountain and go, okay, where am I going? What is the purpose? What is the goal of this? And then stay focused on the goal. Things are going to come in, things are going to go out. But as long as you're staying focused on what you need to do and why you need to do it, what you're bringing to the world, and that is your only focus, not money, not recognition, not popularity. We're social animals. We know when you're just doing it for the money, no matter what you say or how good your copywriters are. We know the companies out there that are just doing it for the money. So stay true to who you are and then ask for help.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming back to the Millennial Summit family, and we look forward to a lot of work to come.
Thank you, Mill Summit. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, everybody. It's great to be in contact with you all again.